Alright, so I'm making gnocchi alla Sorrentina, and I have my mozzarella, my parmesan, the basil, the egg, the potatoes, and the tomato puree. And I'm going to first start by weighing out the potatoes on the scale, and then I'm going to boil them for 20 to 40 minutes until they are soft and peel them. So right now I am going to weigh 500 grams of potatoes. All right, so that's close enough. So now I'm gonna put them in the pot of boiling water. After the potatoes are done boiling, I will then start to peel them and mash the potato. So the next step was to mash up all of the potato. So I've been mashing that all up. And then next I have to beat the egg. I cleaned my surface, and then the next step is to combine 1 cup of flour with the potato, and then add 2 tablespoons of this whisked egg mixture. I got my mashed potatoes poured out, and now I'm going to add my cup of flour. And now I'm going to combine the mashed potatoes with the flour. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of my egg mixture and my salt. I have my egg in there and my salt. Now I'm going to do another mix with my hands. Right, so I mix the dough and put it into a ball, and it says to put the dough into a ball and then add a little bit of flour on the top and just work it in. All right, so next I have to cut the dough into sections. All right. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more flour so it doesn't stick. And I have to roll out sections of the dough. All right, and then when I got a long strand of dough, I'm going to start cutting it into little pieces. All right, so now I'm going to make little imprints on the dough balls. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is my first time making gnocchi. All right, now I have all of my gnocchi made, and I have to let it rest for 20 minutes and then put them into a pot of boiling water. Now my gnocchi is rested, and I'm putting it into a pot of boiling water, a few at a time. Now I got all of my gnocchi cooking in the pot. The gnocchi is floating. I'm going to transfer it to the baking dish. I have my gnocchi in the pot, and now I am going to start with the sauce. I'm going to put 5 tablespoons of olive oil and a clove of garlic to saute. My 2 cups of tomato sauce, garlic, and 5 tablespoons of olive oil, and I am letting it simmer in the pot. Now that my sauce is starting to get hot, I preheated the oven, and I'm going to pour it in with my gnocchi. I'm combining my gnocchi with my sauce, and I'm going to add some fresh mozzarella and basil to the top with Parmesan cheese. All right, now the recipe says to sprinkle Parmesan cheese over the top. More cheese, the better. All right, now I'm gonna add my fresh mozzarella balls. And a couple basil leaves. All right, now I'm going to put it into the oven on the hottest setting for 5 to 10 minutes. All right, the gnocchi is out and I'm gonna let it cool and then we're gonna do a taste test. The sides got burnt a little, so hopefully it tastes all right. And we got the gnocchi right there and my sister is going to taste test.
Looks pretty good.
How is it?
Delicious.
All right, and
Really
there's
good.
the gnocchi alla Sorrentina. All right, so I'm going to start off by talking about a few of the ingredients that I purchased at the local Walmart. I got all of these ingredients for just over $16, so it's not too bad of a break to your bank. So I started off by getting these golden potatoes, and it's important that you use these kind of potatoes because any other kind, it just won't turn out, and these ones peel the best from my experience. All right, the next item that I picked up from my local Walmart was basil, and this herb really brings out the flavor of the dish. It's not really going to taste the same without it, so definitely don't skip out on your basil. It's the best when it's fresh. You can get it in like jars, but it doesn't taste as flavorful, so definitely get your fresh basil. Alright, this is what I decided to use as my sauce. The original recipe called for a very expensive, authentic Italian canned recipe that was like $30, and I decided that that was way too expensive. So I just decided to go with the crushed tomatoes, and that worked really well for my sauce, and I thought it brought out the flavors of the basil really well. To go along with that point, you can also make a authentic Italian passata recipe, and that's what the tomato sauce is called in Italian. And you just use crushed tomatoes with that, with the basil and some salt and pepper, and it brings out the flavor really well and adds to your gnocchi. I also purchased the fresh mozzarella from the Walmart, and I used the mozzarella balls instead of the large balls and cutting them into smaller pieces. The smaller balls you definitely still need to cut because it's a bit of a choking hazard. It doesn't melt down as well, and my sister accidentally choked while trying to eat it because, like I said, it didn't melt down very well. So definitely cut your mozzarella into pieces, especially if you're feeding this to young children or sisters. Another fancy type of cheese that I used was the Parmesan. You can buy this in the tub just like this, or if you want to be more authentically Italian, you can grate it yourself with a cheese grater. I find that really time consuming and I think it tastes about the same, so pick and choose your battles. Alright, I wanted to add in another tip in case you're in a time crunch, and that's you can buy packaged gnocchi. I definitely don't recommend the packaged gnocchi as much as making it homemade from scratch. I've had it packaged before and it does not taste even as close to as good as it did when I made it by myself. The only downside is that making it homemade is very time consuming, so make sure you have a lot of time on hand before considering making this dish. I also wanted to include that this is a type of fresh pasta made with eggs, flour, and the potato. So if you are not going to consume this right away, make sure that you freeze it. Don't leave it in the fridge for too long or it will alter its taste and not taste as well as it would if you made it fresh. I also wanted to add in a clip of the homemade tomato passata sauce for the gnocchi. So like I said, it's made with fresh ripe tomatoes and it looks very similar to the crushed tomatoes, but it has a richer taste, and it really amplifies the flavor of your dish. Another tip I discovered to fully melt the mozzarella so that it makes it easier to chew is put it on broil near the end for just a couple minutes, and it gives the mozzarella a nice crispy texture. So another tip I have for making the pasta is to make sure you use plenty of flour because it definitely likes to stick to the counter. Other than that, this dish is fairly easy to make. It's just time consuming, I hope you enjoy making it yourself one day. Thanks for watching.